167 people died because Walter White poisoned a child. Not criminals, not dealers, innocent people on a plane. And that's not even the worst part. Today, we're counting every single person in Breaking Bad who didn't deserve to die, and what their deaths reveal about Walt's true nature. Breaking Bad sells itself as a transformation story, but it's really a body count. Most of those bodies belong to people who were just in the wrong place at the wrong time. We're going through 5 devastating moments, each one worse than the last, that prove Walt didn't build a drug empire. He built a graveyard. By the end, you'll understand why the real villain isn't Walt's ambition. It's his indifference to the lives he destroys. Janemargolis. Jane discovers the truth. She knows Walt is the meth cook. She's not trying to get him arrested. She just knows. And that knowledge makes her dangerous. Not because she's a threat to the operation, but because Walt can't control her. But here's the problem. Jane is someone Walt could have saved. She was trying to get clean. She had a future with Jesse. Walt watches her choke on her own vomit. He could save her. He doesn't. He lets her die. This isn't self-defense, it's murder. This is the moment Walt becomes a murderer. Not out of necessity, out of choice. Jane's death spirals Jesse into darkness for the rest of the series. One decision destroys an entire life. What if Jane had lived? Jesse never becomes Todd's puppet. The entire second half changes. But Walt needed her dead to maintain control. But Jane's death isn't even the beginning. Because for every life Walt takes directly, he destroys 10 more. And the next one proves it in the most devastating way possible. Flight 620. Crazy 8 gets arrested. Walt and Jesse kill him. But that information reaches the cartel. They orchestrate a prison break. What seems like a contained operation spirals into catastrophe. But here's the problem. The prison break goes wrong. 2 planes collide over Albuquerque. 167 people die. Children, families, all innocent, all unaware they're about to become collateral damage. Walt sits in his car and watches the news. Body parts falling from the sky. Death toll climbing. And he just sits there. He doesn't react. He doesn't spiral. This is Breaking Bad asking us a brutal question. At what point does Walt's destruction become so massive that we can't defend him? 167 people isn't a side effect. It's a massacre. It's genocide on a small scale. What if Walt had turned himself in after Jane? All those people live. Their families stay intact. But Walt's pride, his need to keep the operation running, creates a body count that dwarfs every other death. Yet Walt moves on without crisis. And that's the pattern, because there's someone else whose death is even more senseless. Andrea Cantillo. Andrea is a single mother. Kind. She loves Jesse. She doesn't know about the meth operation and doesn't care about Walt's empire. She's just trying to raise her son right. But here's the problem. Love makes you a target in Walt's world. When Jesse tries to run away with her and Brock, Walt sees this as a threat. Not to his operation, to his control over Jesse. Todd shoots Andrea in the head while Brock watches. Not because she threatened anyone, because Walt needed to break Jesse. He needed to remind Jesse that Walt owns him. This reveals the deepest truth about Walt. He doesn't kill to protect his operation. He kills to feel powerful. Andrea's death serves no strategic purpose. It's pure psychological warfare. It's punishment inflicted on an innocent woman. What if Andrea had just accepted Jesse and moved on? She could have lived. Instead, she becomes collateral damage in Walt's game. Her death is completely unnecessary and utterly unforgivable. But there's someone whose death might be even more senseless. Someone whose only crime was being related to the wrong person. Hankschrader. Hank figures it out. After months of investigation, he understands. Walt is Heisenberg. The moment he knows, he becomes a dead man, and Hank doesn't even see it coming. But here's the problem. Hank is a good person, a law enforcement officer who followed the rules, who believed in justice, who never hurt anyone innocent. Walt calls Jack. They shoot Hank in the desert.
Do what you're gonna do.
Hank dies away from his family because Walt decided knowing the truth was worse than staying alive. It's that simple, that brutal. Hank didn't deserve to die. He wasn't a criminal. He was doing his job. His death isn't a consequence of his actions. It's punishment for being too smart. Walt kills Hank out of pure fear and wounded pride. What if Walt had turned himself in when Hank found out? Hank lives. Gomez lives. Their families don't get destroyed, but Walt's ego won't allow it. And that's the pattern. Walt doesn't kill because he's a mastermind. He kills because he's afraid. And fear destroys everyone around him. The full picture. But it's not just Jane. 167 people, Andrea and Hank. There's Gomez, killed in the same ambush. Brock, poisoned as manipulation. Prison guards executed. Tomas, killed because Jesse loved his mother. But here's the problem. These deaths aren't presented as tragedies. They're presented as consequences, as if they somehow deserve to die because they were in Walt's orbit. This leads to the realization that Breaking Bad's horror isn't Walt becoming a criminal. It's the scale of destruction one man's pride and fear creates. It's systematic. It's relentless. This forces us to confront what we've been ignoring. Walt is a mass murderer, not of soldiers or competitors, of innocent people, of children. And the show forces us to watch this while sympathizing with the destroyer. That's the genius and the horror. What if we actually kept count instead of calling these consequences? What if we acknowledge that Walt killed more innocent people than criminals? What if we stopped making excuses for him? Once you see it, you can't unsee it. Walt's body count isn't impressive. It's tragic. Here's the brutal truth about Breaking Bad. The show isn't about a criminal empire. It's about the human cost of one man's refusal to accept consequences. Hank didn't fail because he was a bad detective. He died because he was too close to the truth. Jane didn't deserve to die. She was killed because she knew too much. Andrea wasn't executed because she was a threat. She was murdered because Walt wanted to hurt Jesse. And 167 innocent people didn't crash by accident. They died because Walt needed Crazy 8 eliminated. The real genius of Breaking Bad is that it forces us to sympathize with the destroyer while showing us the destroyed. We root for Walt. We understand his motivations. We're complicit in rooting for a man who commits atrocities. And then the show reveals that everyone around him gets destroyed in the process. Walt didn't build a drug empire. He built a graveyard populated with people who never did anything to deserve it. That's not a transformation story. That's a tragedy. And the tragedy isn't that Walt dies at the end. It's that everyone else dies first. It's that their deaths mean nothing to him.